Okay, ready to get started. And just so you know, everyone is on mute at this point. At the end, I will be taking it off of there if you guys want to ask some questions, we'll have some time for that at the end. So, here to talk about the Ecuador Wellness Retreat, and very excited. This is kind of a big idea, bigger than me, which is why I'm sharing this. So, some of the different things, types of ways that people might participate, different things that would be welcome ways of participating in this idea. One is investors, and I'll be talking about that here at the end. You're not talking about a huge commitment, but different ways to do that. Practitioners, so people like myself who are naturopathic doctors have different specialties. We are looking at the idea of a wellness resort, if you will. We'll talk more about that in a second, but chiropractors, therapeutic massage, naturopathic doctors, medical doctors with a natural, holistic bent, all of those. Hi, Marcy, nice to see you. So just going through some of the different types of people that would be involved with this idea. So investors, practitioners, people that are good at marketing. So we're looking at this being something for people from all over the world. Developers, people that, depending on the type of idea that you go for, people that would be good at development. Prayer partners, people that would either join us down there or be prayer partners with us up here in the States. So just going to share with you a little bit about myself and why me, why am I interested in this? So that's a picture of me from the trip that I took to Ecuador this summer. I went with a fellow graduate of mine from Trinity School of Natural Health, and we're looking at a piece of property there, about a 5-acre piece of property that had something like 500 mature fruit trees on it. And that's a banana tree that I'm looking at there. And I just think that's the coolest thing, to be able to be at a place where you can walk out your door and see fruit trees everywhere. And really, that's truly what it's like there in Ecuador. So a few things about me. I have 6 children. What I'm sharing with you today is not because I'm going through a midlife crisis. I'm happy with my life. I like where I am. I've got a naturopathic practice and a thermography clinic in Louisville, Kentucky. I like my home, my family, so this is not a midlife crisis. It's just a big idea that as I share it with you, you'll kind of get the picture that this is something pretty big that would be pretty awesome to pull off. I've served as a pastor for 16 years. Was a senior pastor of a church called Amazing Grace Bible Church in Louisville, Kentucky for 14 years, and on staff at a larger church for 2 years. And so part of my experience there feeds into my vision for what this place can be. And about 5 years into my ministry as a pastor, we began to pray over people, and we started to see people healed. And I'll just share with you one story about that. And again, that plays into what we're going to be doing here with this Ecuador Wellness Resort. But about 5 years into our ministry, we just looked at the Bible. We hadn't really seen God do any miracles in our church. And in James chapter 5, it just talks about anointing people with oil, praying over them, and having the elders pray over them. And so I just stood before my church. I said, look, let's make sure that the reason we're not seeing miracles and healings happen in our church is not because you do not have, because you do not ask. So one Sunday we began to do this, and the very first person that came forward had been struggling with depression for about 10 years, and she was the first person that we ever prayed over. And her depression was so severe, she would cut herself, had been in the hospital a few times because of that, and she had actually spent about $45,000, if you can imagine, on naturopathic treatment. So did not want to go on pharmaceutical drugs, but was about to. We laid hands on her, prayed over her, and she was healed instantly. That was about 8 years ago, completely delivered from her depression. And from that point on, we began to see people healed of numerous things through prayer. And whenever I share the good news about Jesus Christ with people, I always ask if there's something that I can pray with them about. And I have seen people improve, including someone with eyesight problems. We had people with cancer, someone that was in a coma. God still moves and heals people. And so that's going to be a big part about what I do. I've also seen people healed through diet and detoxing. And that would be my own story. When I was 29 years old, I was pretty sick. I was just getting sick all the time. I had headaches all the time and chronic low energy. And all of those issues have been reversed through changing my diet, eating nutrient-dense food, healthy food, eliminating white sugar, and a major league detox, and completely changed those things. 2 years ago, I left the ministry and earned my naturopathic doctorate, and I started doing my practice here in Louisville, Kentucky, and incorporate what I've learned as a pastor about prayer, spiritual roots of disease, and then, of course, bringing my knowledge about diet, detoxing, using nutrition to help the body to heal itself. So my belief is that there's basically two things that can bring healing to people. One is God can, and the second is your body can heal itself. When you provide the body with what it needs, it can do what it was created to do. And lastly, I have a passion to share my knowledge. And that will play into what we're going to be sharing with you, or what I'm going to be sharing with you here today. I have a practice in Louisville, Kentucky. It's called Ancient Paths Naturopathy. The name Ancient Paths comes from the Bible, Jeremiah chapter 6:16. It says, "Seek out the ancient paths and walk in them, and you will find rest for your souls." And that's kind of a theme verse for what I do and for my practice, helping people to find rest for their souls. And also, especially here in the United States, people have lost the ancient path, especially as it pertains to health. We've lost, our grandparents knew about natural cures for various things, and we've completely lost that information in our culture. So I have a passion to share my knowledge. Also, this is a resource. I would love for you to check this out. This past summer, I took a trip to Ecuador to investigate the country, to look into some different real estate. This is my friend John Ellis. He's a fellow naturopath. And we went down there for 10 days. And I blogged about the experience daily. Would love for you to check that out. There's lots of pictures on the blog. You can see my experience. I share more stories about healing down there. But you can go to ecuadorretreat.blogspot.com. But just one thing about Ecuador, you can see John. We're driving down the road. There was a food stand. These are pretty common as you're driving down the highways. And we just stopped by and we asked for some bananas. And you don't just get a little clump of bananas, you get a part of a tree. So John's just holding, this was like, I don't know, I mean, the food there is very inexpensive. That he might have paid like $5-6 for that thing. I can't really remember now, but it was relatively inexpensive. And we had a bet as to whether or not he could eat that entire thing on our trip there in Ecuador, and he didn't quite make it. That's a lot of bananas. So why this project? Couple of reasons. Why I initially began to think about doing something out of the country was because of concerns that I had over what I see happening in the United States. And along those lines, health freedom, just the suppression of cures in the United States. There are a number of cures for cancer. If you watch the 9-part documentary, there's the guy's name is escaping right now, but there's a documentary called The Quest for the Cures. There's another one that he's done, but it just documents various people in the United States who have come up with ways of healing disease. One of the practitioners that whose methods I use, his name is Dr. Kerry Reams. And when we were doing thermography at one of our mobile sites, there was a lady there who had been healed through one of his disciples, a lady out of Atlanta. And this lady said that Dr. Reams helped over 10,000 people heal of cancer. Did not use pharmaceutical drugs, did not use chemotherapy or radiation. And for his good work, he was thrown in jail several times for practicing medicine without a license, even though he was using food and supplements. So there's been some suppression of cures in the United States that you don't see. There's a lot of cancer centers in places like Mexico where people will go to heal. And so that's one concern, is just health freedom. Secondly, my own personal concern is that here in the United States, there's been an almost unprecedented printing of money since 2008. And that's been going on for a long time. But the last time there was this type of expansion of the money supply was in the 1920s, when they decided to contract that money supply, created the Great Depression. So my thought was it would sure be nice to be in a warm climate where you didn't have to worry about heat and air, and there was abundant food. And Ecuador is a place that, as you'll see, meets those criterion. Also looking for a place that has nutrient-dense food. So farming practices in the United States over the last 100 years have greatly depleted the soil. We don't have the nutrition in our food that we used to have. So there's a lot of people who believe that food should be your medicine, that you should be able to use food to heal the body. But the problem with that is our food, especially here in the United States, does not have the nutrients in it, and this is documented. Studies have shown that it just doesn't have the nutrition because the soil is depleted. And this has been gradually getting worse decade by decade for the last 100 years. But while I was in Ecuador, my reasons for doing something like this greatly expanded. I was reading a book by Bob Goff called Love Does. If you want to read about God doing some just truly enormous things through one person's life, read that book. It's called Love Does by Bob Goff. But I was reading that book on my trip to Ecuador and just began to have a greater vision for what this could be. And about using something like this to really bring the grace of God, the love of God, and the good news of Jesus Christ to people from around the world. So we'll talk more about what that looks like. Why I want to talk about the area, you may be wondering why Vilcabamba, Ecuador. Vilcabamba is the city that we primarily focused on. This is an actual picture that I took from Vilcabamba. This is during the dry season, so you do see a little more brown during the summer, 3 months in the summer. The other 9 months of the year, it's incredibly lush and green. But Vilcabamba is internationally known as the Valley of Longevity. It has a reputation for people living over 100 years old. The climate there is called eternal spring. Basically, it's in 70 degrees year-round. So you have, you're located at the equator, but you're also in the mountains, but at not too high, not too low. And you get this 70-degree temperatures year-round. And so they call it eternal spring. Vilcabamba is also known for its nutrient-dense soil, year-round growing season, and breathtaking beauty. So when you have water coming out of the mountains, it's loaded with minerals. You have springs that are just on just about every piece of land. A lot of rivers, natural water supply that, again, it's coming out of the mountains, and it's just loaded with minerals So the soil is being replenished. So some of the different reasons why Vilcabamba, Ecuador. I want to welcome you to the Ecuador Wellness Resort. This is the entrance to one of the properties that I am very interested in. It's called San Joaquin, and I'll be showing you a few more pictures from that here in just a second. But what is this wellness resort? Part of that is going to be a wellness retreat, and what that means is that it's a place where people can come and live for a week, 2 weeks, maybe a month at a time, maybe longer. One nice thing about Ecuador is something like that would be very affordable. The most expensive part would be the travel. But food there is abundant. Labor there is, having people to work your property. Building costs, if you were to build new things, fairly inexpensive. So the wellness retreat would be focused on treating the whole person, bringing peace to the mind, the emotions, and the body. So bringing to bear what I call spiritual roots of disease, things like fear, anxiety, and stress, bitterness, anger, guilt, shame, and those things affect the emotions, and those affect the body. So this would be a place to focus on the whole person. It would be a residential retreat, a place where people could come and live and stay, get worked on, received care daily. The other thing that I love about this area is you have pure air. Some of you may know what chemtrails are. You don't see that in Vilcabamba. There's clean water. You have rich soil, nutrient-dense food, beautiful views everywhere you look. So it's very peaceful, low stress. You have a very laid-back culture, very friendly culture to Americans. And we would be bringing the best of natural health practitioners to this wellness retreat. It would also be a wellness resort, so people may not necessarily be coming there for just to receive treatment. They may just be coming to enjoy some of those other factors, enjoying massage, the incredible views, delicious organic and local foods provided daily. There's this particular resort, San Joaquin, has a 50-stall horse barn. I'm not sure why they built that, but there's things that you can do with that, hippotherapy, but you can also take horseback adventures into Podocarpus National Park. It's a little section of the Amazon and a beautiful area that's well known. A lot of people come from all over the world to launch out and take adventures into that national park. People can do mountain hikes, take excursions to nearby hot springs, rainforests, local villages. There was one that John and I visited near an area called Zamora, and you have a lot of people there wearing local dress. The food there is absolutely amazing, and a lot of local crafts and things are sold there. So some people may just want to come to experience, just have a kind of all-inclusive wellness resort type of experience. And then the last thing, and this is kind of how my vision expanded, I have kids that, two of them, my two oldest children, have been involved with Youth with a Mission. This is an organization that launches out and does ministry all over the world. I currently have a son that's spent a month in Panama. Right now he's doing a skateboarding ministry in Colombia. And these guys, my son is 21 years old and he's leading the trip. But they bring young people in, it changes their lives. They launch out all over the world, and it would be awesome to have a place in Ecuador. They've been trying to get one going there, hasn't really taken root, but it would be a place for students from all over the world to come and participate and potentially minister there at the wellness resort, but also to launch out and do ministry to tribes there and that are still there in the jungle. God's already doing incredible things there. People are seeing amazing miracles, healing taking place through some of those ministries. And this would be a place to kind of come alongside and help launch out some of those students. So there you have that. So I want to share with you some of the different places. This is a picture that I took of San Joaquin, and I'm going to exit the slideshow here for a second and take you to a quick video. So a few things here. These are just some quick pictures. This is an aerial view of San Joaquin. You're going to see some close-ups. This is a gazebo out in the middle of a pond. You have a river out in the front, some small lakes. Where you see the arrow there, that's a tennis court. A stadium that seats 250 people that surrounds a couple of volleyball courts there. You could do some major events there. You've got stables that are up in this area here. On top of the hill there, there's a actual hotel that's part of that property. So here you can see some of the stables, the horses. There's the entrance again, a horse. There's that gazebo, the river out in front. And there is the main center, which I would envision being the primary place where we would focus on wellness and treatment. Various different treatment modalities would take place in that building there. So I'm going to show you just a quick video. This is 4 minutes long, so we're just going to watch this real quickly. This is about San Joaquin, and shows you a little bit about the area there in Ecuador.
Hello, and welcome to Hacienda San Joaquin and the Valley of Longevity.
Okay, so a few things about that property. One, it does come with that lady walking around and some creepy elevator music playing while you're there. So, no, there's a few things that just really impressed me while I was there. One is they spared no expense in building this place. I think it was actually started by people who had a similar idea, but they just either ran out of money or bailed out on the idea. But they had, I think it was some doctors from California that wanted to open a natural health wellness place. The orchard there is incredible. Beautiful. I can't remember how many acres it is, but lots of fruit trees, bananas, various types of oranges, lemons. And then you can see some of the garden there. Stuff there is known to grow extremely well. And it's just beautiful. Everywhere you look, really, in all of Vilcabamba, but even San Joaquin, especially, everywhere you look, it's just a beautiful place. So that's one idea, is to take a place like that. There's also 26 lots there in San Joaquin. And part of the idea for San Joaquin, in order to purchase something that's a little bit more on the expensive side, is to sell off those lots. Now, the nice thing about Ecuador is that you can build fairly nice villas that would, people could own the villas, they can live there, or they can visit them a few months out of the year and then rent them out the rest of the year for people that might be visitors to the wellness retreat. So there's a number of different possibilities here. There's also a hotel that sits up on the hill that's not been finished. You could actually sell rooms, condo them out from the hotel, finish out the hotel, and use that as well. So there is some possibilities here for investing, owning a piece, being able to actually maybe make some money on it. So some different ideas there for San Joaquin. This is one other area that I want to show you. This was another property that we looked at. Abundant Living Ecuador is Jesse Bayer. He's the real estate agent there that we work with in Ecuador. And so this is from his website, just an investor's guide. But this hotel is already profitable. That's one nice thing about it. So investing in it, it's also not nearly as expensive as San Joaquin. Doesn't have as many things, doesn't have the indoor pool, it has an outdoor pool, doesn't have the tennis court, but does have some very nice possibilities. Beautiful property. The construction is done very well. And this place, basically, they're not losing money, they're not really making money, but they've never spent a dime on marketing. So it's something that you could fill up fairly easily. Some highlights of this property, which we're going to show you. It's got a conference room. I think you could probably get a better deal than this price that's showing there. It has been sitting there for a little while. It has a conference room that seats 100. It's already got an area that's built out to be a wellness spa, swimming pool, fruit trees located throughout the property. It sits on 5 acres, and there's something like 46 acres next to it. So here's some of the highlights of this property. It sits on 5 acres. It's built extremely well. It can accommodate up to 60 guests. It's got a conference retreat center, lovely full-service spa facilities. That's where we would do the medical wellness or natural health wellness. It's got an amazing restaurant. That was one of the highlights of my trip, was eating there, and everything I ate came from around the property. The coffee that I drank came from coffee beans across the street. If you know me, I cannot eat sugar, but I had ice cream at this restaurant because it's made with cane sugar that comes from the area. It's made from cacao that comes from around the area, and milk that comes from right around the area. So I just had to try it. I didn't get a headache like I normally do from sugar. It was fantastic. There's a smoothie bar that's already built out, swimming pool. Of course, if I ran the place, it's going to be cleaned with colloidal silver or colloidal copper, but that's a whole nother story. So you can see some of the different things. It's got excellent staff that's been working there for years. Fruit trees, medicinal herb garden. Just amazing stuff there. So average employee tenure of more than 9 years. That's the swimming pool, but look at the views out in the background. So anyways, this is something that you can see on their website. There's an additional 44 acres of prime real estate adjacent to the property. Again, you could build out some villas where you could do more residential things. This is a view from one of the rooms. Every room is completely unique here. And this looking out over the valley of Vilcabamba. Another little picture of the property there. So some of the different areas there. Again, I do have, this is the website. There are some pictures there on the blog that I did, the ecuadorretreat.blogspot.com. So be sure to check that out. So I'm going to go back to slideshow here and we'll wrap things up. Almost finished here. So we looked at San Joaquin, beautiful landscape, horse stalls, lots for villas, a hotel, tennis court, indoor pool. Again, that's going to be cleaned with colloidal silver, volleyball court and stadium, luxurious accommodation, ponds, lake, and a river, mature orchard and garden. Madre Tierra was the second property, not quite as big. You're not looking at needing quite as many investors on this one. So what about next steps? So this is the basic idea for what we are thinking about doing. It requires a lot of different people. So if you're interested in looking further into this, maybe participating in some way, you could be looking for a place to retire. Ecuador, if you begin looking around the internet, is one of the #1 places in the world for people that want to retire. Part of this could be used for people like that. As I mentioned before, maybe you want to, this could be a place to come and visit and live for a few months out of the year. One of the things that makes Ecuador so appealing for retirement is the cost of living is very low. Very easy for someone to come and live on Social Security, for example. Medical care is very inexpensive. And of course, we would be doing, more natural health ideas where we are. So people could come own a villa for something where they might retire down the road and rent it out to us to use with clients or guests at our wellness retreat. The nice thing about, if someone wanted to invest, build a villa there that could be used and rented out, is that would cover the minimum investment. So there's one of the ways to establish citizenship so you can live for more than 3 months a year in Ecuador is there's a $25,000 investment. So you can put that money in a bank, it has to stay in the bank, or you can purchase a piece of property, you can own a business where you employ Ecuadorian citizens. So there's a few different ways to establish citizenship, and it's relatively inexpensive. And that's, but by investing in our wellness center, that's one way where you could automatically cover that cost. Or maybe you want to be a practitioner, someone who comes down, helps out for a month, 2 months, or maybe you want to move there, live there full time. One of the thoughts that I had as I was standing on a balcony at Madre Tierra was I looked out over the valley of Vilcabamba and I just thought to myself, I could do this. I could uproot my family, move to Ecuador and do this. It's a completely different lifestyle, but there's some tremendous rewards to living there. So maybe you're interested in something like that, being a partner in this. Maybe you just want to pray for us if we actually go for this, and making sure that God's hands on it. Maybe you want to be a part of helping to establish the YWAM base. So there's a number of opportunities here. As you can see, it's a big idea with room for lots of people. If you want to I've opened up this email address, ecuadorwellness@gmail.com, ecuadorwellness@gmail.com. So if you want to communicate with me, share, dream, we're going to be kind of exploring this. I've got a few major people that are very interested in moving this forward. And based on the interest that we get through this webinar, and as we continue to share this with people, we're going to make the decision as to whether or not to move forward. So if you want to interact with us about what we're doing, maybe how you'd like to participate, you can send an email to that address. Some of you may have my other contact information. Feel free to give me a phone call. So that is the end of the presentation. I'm going to go ahead and open this up. If you just want to share a comment, you can do that. Keep it on the positive side. Hopefully, that's not an issue. And then, but if you have some questions, I'm happy to answer those as well. I'm gonna go ahead and unmute everyone. So we'll just take 5 or 10 minutes. Thanks for being on. If you want to hang out, if you have some questions, feel free to do that. Otherwise, thank you again for being on here today. So yeah, at this time, feel free to ask any questions that you have.
I'm going here so he can see me.
By the way, there's one thing that I didn't mention during this webinar. I mentioned David Hughes. He's on the webinar here today. And he just, I think when I shared this idea with him and his wife, you know, they were pretty gung-ho about it. But the cool thing about what David does is he is a representative for a website called Dream Trips. Basically, Dream Trips is for vacations what Uber is for the transportation industry. And, you know, his comment to me was, you know, if we put this on Dream Trips, he said, we could fill this place up year round pretty easily. So that's a pretty awesome thought as far as moving forward and being able to make it work. Any other thoughts or comments or questions that you have?
Can you hear me, Chip?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, well, actually, I'm excited to share some more late breaking news with you, and I'll circle back with you. But on that note, just back from Phoenix, a big conference, and you know, the visionary for the Dream Trips company and everything, they rolled out a brand new program this weekend that launched. It's called Dream Body, and that's the whole thing. It's going to be all about dream trips that are specifically designed for the well-being, whole being. You know, for example, sweetheart, what was the one they already had posted? Was that in Puerto Rico? In Costa Rica. So they already have one posted live. One of their first trips already is a Costa Rica. You have daily massages built in. You have there was hiking and and then different, you know, yoga exercises, just different things around the whole theme. So I want to get with you for sure ASAP on that, because our good friend Eric Allen, I want to share your vision with him as well, because he's directly connected with the top people in the whole company, and he could help make some things happen as far as tying this retreat into, you know, making it a customized dream trip package for folks. You know, I mean, on some of the resorts now, because their volume of memberships are so large as a company, they have, you know, certain resorts that they have a dream trip pretty much every week of the year there, bringing in, you know, a large group of people every week. So yeah, we definitely need to chat about some of those details because there's some exciting stuff on that end that line up, perfectly with what you're doing there.
Awesome. Very cool. Cool. Thank you. Any other thoughts, questions, ideas?
I have a couple questions.
Sure. Go for it, Marcy.
Is this going to be, I apologize. So if I'm re-asking, I missed the first, I think, 5 to 10 minutes, but is this a Christian-based retreat center?
Yes, absolutely. It's going to be a distinctively Christian-based retreat center. I'm not going to, if somebody wants to purchase a villa or something like that, I'm not going to, exclude that to Christians. But as far as practitioners, what types of things that we practice, there's certain things that, as a Christian, there's certain modalities, as you know, going through, even through Trinity, that I'm not comfortable with as a Christian. So that will be, in terms of what modalities are allowed, and also in terms of addressing spiritual roots of disease. And let me just share another story with those of you who are on here today. I had one of my clients that came into my office a few weeks ago. She had what's called Sjogren's disease. Doesn't produce saliva. Well, that's a problem because I do a saliva test. And basically, I shared the good news of eternal life through Jesus Christ with her. And very briefly, nothing over the top. And then I prayed for her. A week later, she came back and filled up a communion cup to the top with saliva. She was completely healed of Sjogren's. So I have, honestly, I've seen almost 100% some type of healing, either completely healed or partially healed, with people where we share the gospel and pray for healing. And then for Christians, a lot of times people have spiritual roots of disease. Those are things like fear, anxiety, stress, bitterness, resentment. Those are things that when they take root in your life, leads to problems. We'll just leave it that way. So yes, it would be a distinctively Christian as far as the wellness aspect goes.
Well, my thing is, with what I do, I have clients all over the world that come to me, and they're very, very sick, but they have major issues emotionally, and they are either potentially not Christian, or they're on the verge and they're very confused spiritually. And I need a place to recommend to send them where I feel comfortable that they are not going to get the wrong answer spiritually while they're there. I'm sure you guys have all heard of those retreats that are, more about the finding the within and all of that. And, I want to make sure that I'm sending them to a place where spiritually they're going to connect with Christ.
Yeah, that's the idea there, and the potential of sending people, and it's not going to be heavy-handed, but there's a model for at least an aspect of what I want to do. A healing center in Atlanta, Georgia. Henry Wright, A More Excellent Way, and there's non-Christians that come there, but many of them find healing and also discover the God who is there, and that Jesus Christ is very real through their healing. So I would think that would have to be a part, because God is there, He does hear, and He answers prayer. So I would want that to be a part of it.
Excellent.
Yeah. Okay, one or two more questions if anybody has another question. All right, everyone, thanks for being on here. I would encourage you just to send me an email. I'm gonna establish a group to kind of keep everyone posted on what we're doing. I can send you the link if you want to share this video with other folks. So it's ecuadorwellness@gmail.com. So thanks again for being on. Look forward to getting your feedback and interacting with you in the future. So noticing a couple new folks getting on. If you're just joining us, I'm seeing the numbers go up here. We just finished up this. I'm doing it again at 9 o'clock tonight. And if you want to get on, you can do that. Or you can just send a request for the video for this session here, and I'm happy to send that to you. So thanks everyone for being on. I'm going to go ahead and log out, and we will see you later.